All right, welcome in. Special guest in Studio C today, Coach Cliff Godwin. Coach, thanks for joining us. We had a big announcement this week that I'm super excited about, and glad we could team up again and for another Pirate Radio Leadership Luncheon, this time with Inky Johnson.
Man, so fired up. I appreciate all the hard work you did, obviously, last year for John Gordon. It was a tremendous blessing for our team, but also a tremendous blessing for our community. There were so many people that just got something out of that message. I think it's important anytime we can give back to the community with people like John Gordon, Inky Johnson. I mean, if you'd have told me John Gordon was coming to Greenville, North Carolina 10 years ago, I probably would have bet against it. And same thing with Inky Johnson. So super excited. And Inky is arguably the number one best motivational speaker in the entire country from his peers and people that he works with. I mean, he works with the highest level of athletic teams and even corporations.
I got to give you credit. I mean, I did last year when we brought John Gordon in. I mean, you really kind of got me on my motivational, inspirational, motivation lifestyle of reading John Gordon books when I heard that you were passing out the energy bus to all your guys. And then obviously Inky Johnson lives in that space, and I think he's one of the best in the business, and people in the business say he is the best in the business. So I think he's going to be fun, and his message of adversity, of what he's gone through is incredible, but it's kind of rechanged his purpose of what his life has been since that injury playing football.
Yeah, the video that you cut up and you had made, he's talking to Ed Milet, which Ed Milet is an unbelievable entrepreneur. He has a great podcast if you've never listened to it. But Ed Milet's worked with John Gordon. He's worked with a ton, but he says Inky Johnson is the number one most inspirational speaker he's ever heard. And he goes, if he was reading off a menu, I would listen to him, which is pretty crazy. And Inky was going to be, first round draft pick and gets injured, and it's a very severe injury. It'd been very easy for him to feel sorry for himself, and man, he is changing people's lives with his story, and there's a faith-based piece. And he even reached out to Parker Bird, 2 years ago when Parker went through his accident. So really cool, and just super excited to get him here.
Yeah, I think one of Inky's things is the purpose in life is to find purpose. And I think he's found his purpose of helping anyone that has ears that's willing to listen, and super excited. So it's going to be March 16th and 17th. He's going to come to town. We have sponsorships available that people can come and be a part of the event, where they can buy a table, and they can even come to the private dinner with the ECU baseball team. You guys play that Sunday, and Inky will speak to the baseball team after that, and then we'll have a luncheon on Monday. So just a great opportunity for folks, if they want to be a part of it, bring their team, their business, or whoever they want to go in and get a table together. You can contact us here at the station, Mark at pirateradio1250.com. So I know this is going to be a hot ticket, and super excited when March will be here before you know it, Coach.
It will be. It will be. We got a lot of work to do on the baseball field before March. But, I was just thinking as you were talking, Jeremy Schumacher, who played with me, he's one of my best friends. He runs a very successful custom home building company in the Charlotte area, Acadia Homes, and he brought his top four people down last year to just hear John Gordon. So I mean, it doesn't have to just be Greenville, but we're definitely doing it for Eastern North Carolina and Greenville. But I mean, anybody can come attend this event.
Yeah, absolutely. Great weekend to come down, watch the Pirates play. You guys will be at home all weekend long, and then stay Sunday for the Inky Johnson dinner, and then Monday for the luncheon. So it can be a great experience no matter where you live. You can have a fun weekend. And then also, it part of the partnership, we raise money for the ECU baseball program, which obviously NIL, the three letters that have been the loudest in college athletics over the last few years. We were able to have success last year with the John Gordon event, raising over $10,000 for your program, and hope to have that success again this year with the Inky Johnson visit.
Yeah, it was great, to be able to put, I think we had 20 returners on last year's team. So, everybody got $500 out of that 10 grand, which we really appreciate. But as I said yesterday at the luncheon, that's not only what we're doing it for, because, John Gordon was so impactful to our team. And specifically, Jake Hunter told the story last year where he had started out really good on the mound, and then he had a couple outings where he had a lot of thoughts going through his head. And John talked about, if your mind is cluttered at time, you're never going to perform at the highest level. And Jake and I had a conversation. He was like, God, my mind's cluttered. And then he was able to pitch good for us. So it's really impactful for our guys. And for all the NIL people out there, I'm not the one that stands up here and says, hey, you got to write the biggest checks, because we don't pay our players on top of expenses. We're just trying to cover costs with our guys. And when I met with the incoming players and their parents this summer, one of the first messages I told them was, hey, if you're looking to get rich off NIL, you should walk out the door, because you're not going to get rich off NIL at East Carolina. But if you want your son to be the best baseball player he can be the best version of himself as a human being and win championships, and then if your talent allows you to be Trey Savage, then you'll sign for over $4 million and you can get some money in the bank account. But we're really just trying to help our guys cover expenses, because at this point we only have 11.7 scholarships to spread out over 32 players, and then you have 40 players on your team. So guys like Joey Barini and Justin Wilcoxon were walk-ons in our program, and Joey played shortstop for us the last 2 years, never received $1 of athletic scholarship, and was a good player for us. So Justin Wilcoxon got 25% scholarship in his 5th year, but they both have graduated. Joey's finishing up his degree this fall, but J-Dub got his MBA here. So really cool stories.
Yeah, and I want to talk more baseball with you in just a minute, but also this Inky Johnson event. I mean, it can financially help the program through NIL, but really what he can provide for them, as you just mentioned, the Jake Hunter story of just sometimes just recorrecting someone's mind. What you can pour in somebody other than money can be more valuable than the actual $100 or a few $100s that players could get sometimes.
Go back to Mike A, man. You got three things: time, treasure, and talent. So to pour into people, and people are not going to remember how much money you gave them. They're going to remember how you made them feel. And I can tell you this: John Gordon speaking to our team definitely made a huge impact on our team and Greenville as a community.
Inky Johnson going to be our special guest at the Pirate Radio Leadership Luncheon coming up in March with Coach Cliff Godwin. Before we talk baseball, I wanted to get your reaction. I've been binging Inky Johnson podcast, and I've been writing down as many quotes as possible or whatever. He has so many good ones. I just wanted to get your thoughts as a leader of East Carolina baseball. He says, character is not something we inherit. Character is something we got to wake up every single day. We got to fight for, and we got to build it.
Well, and I don't know his, specific, his entire childhood story, but I know he grew up really poor. And I think I heard a story where he would actually, slept with his brother in the bed or slept on the floor. And, when the accident happened on the football field, I mean, he, in his mind, was going to change his family's course of direction financially, because they were very, very poor. And he did, but he just didn't do it in the way that he thought he was going to do. And he talks about how God, redirected his course, but then his purpose had to change. And, man, he's doing way more things for people in life and on this platform than he would have been if he'd have been a 12-time Pro Bowler. Yeah. As Parker Bird is doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of to follow up on that, another Inky Johnson quote, which your first reaction is, God is always preparing us. Has something in your life ever went wrong and ended up going right?
You just put me on the spot. I mean, I could go through a lot of different things. My dream was to play basketball at North Carolina, to be like Michael Jordan. That was what my dream was, but God had a different path for me. And if I hadn't come to play here for Coach Overton and then Coach LeClaire getting hired, I'm definitely not the head baseball coach here. And, there's been different, things that have happened in my life professionally where if they hadn't have worked out that way, I wouldn't be sitting here. So a lot of things. I definitely agree with that statement.
Yeah. And then everybody we meet is fighting a battle we know nothing about.
You got to meet people where they are. And, I can tell you this, walking through my depression and stuff, I mean, if you'd have walked into my office, you'd have thought probably I was okay. But, man, I was fighting every day, scratching and clawing just to show up for work. So definitely people have things going on in their lives that if you don't have intentional conversations with them and if you can't be vulnerable with them, they'll never tell you what they're actually going through, and you can't help them.
And Inky Johnson, one of his big things, obviously, he says we're all wounded, and he has a physical wound that he can point to us to his paralyzed arm, and that's kind of the backup there. Of you don't really know what someone else is going through, because I mean we all are going through something. It could be good. I mean, it doesn't always have to be negative.
Right.
I mean, it could be that person could be going through something really good, which could help pick up somebody that's not going through something good at the time.
Well, and me going through all my stuff, and really in the fall of 21, and then it goes into 22 with my knee stuff, but. I'm going to get married one day, and if you'd have told me that 2 years ago, I'd have probably bet everything I owned against that. And God can change you if you let him, and he's got to change your heart, and he definitely did that with me.
One of the best things I think Inky always says in his podcast and other things is, what's the lesson, what's the blessing, and what's the growth? I think those are three things in life that you can always try to, when you're going through good, bad, or indifferent, hey, what's the lesson? What's the blessing? What's the growth?
That's awesome. I don't think I've ever heard him say that, and that's really powerful stuff. But he is amazing, and I can't wait to get him here.
Yeah, Inky Johnson coming in March. So hopefully, contact us. We'll get you hooked up. Let's talk. We got you here, so we got to talk baseball. Let's talk ECU baseball. How was your summer? Obviously, a lot of changes, a lot of new faces.
Yep.
Give us just your opening remarks, I guess, of where we stand with ECU baseball right now. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, definitely one of the most challenging summers for me personally. From the standpoint, we had to hire a new director of baseball operations. Obviously, what Blake did for our program, but also for me personally, he's a brother in my life now, and he's staying in Greenville and actually is going to work for Grover Gaming. So pretty cool stuff. And has Graham, who's about 20 months old, and his wife's pregnant again. So obviously change there. And anytime you bring in somebody new, it's new, and you got to, get those people up to speed. But new ops guy, Eddie Losner, new strength coach, Hunter Reeves, who's been awesome. So he's been with us all summer. We have a new athletic trainer. It's just not official yet. So a lot of athletic trainers at East Carolina have been helping us out and taking on a strain because we just don't have anybody to cover us. And I really appreciate those people. And then we had to hire a new academic advisor, which will start at the end of the month. And then 31 new players. And, I prayed more about the people that were coming into our organization this summer than I've ever done because I always thought I was the one in control, but really God's in control. And of the 31 new players, man, it's been awesome. It's been a breath of fresh air. They're a fun group to be around. All of them have different stories. Some have had a lot of things going in their life that I'm glad they're here because I think we can help them with the love and support that we'll give them. Some are young and need some growth maturity-wise, but they have worked hard. So really the 31 new players has been the easiest thing for me to navigate when I thought that was going to be the hardest thing because the guys have, for the most part, bought into what our standards are, what our culture is. And even though we only have 16 returning guys, they've done a really good job of cultivating them into our program.
What have you learned? I know you're trying to teach them your culture, what it's like to be a Pirate and everything, but what have you learned from them or taken away from the 31 new folks coming through the doors?
Well, the biggest thing I've learned is, pray for things that ask God for guidance in different situations. I think I've mentioned this to you before, but Ed Milet and John Gordon had a podcast, and I don't know, it was a year or two ago. And I remember Ed Milet, who I don't know how much money he's worth, but it's probably $1 billion it's a lot of millions of dollars. But he said really his entrepreneur business took off when he started praying about the business decisions that he was actually making. And, I just try to pray throughout the day about decisions or issues that come up. And do I still have anxiety and get angry? And, I have to press pause being a leader of our organization, but I would say that's the biggest thing I learned is if you pray about it, not that he's going to always, but I just prayed about the people, not, hey, that we get Jonathan Ellerby, so to speak, this guy that throws 100, but bring the right people into our organization that will help cultivate our culture. And I really think we've done a good job of that.
How intentional are you about praying during the day when you need it?
Well, actually, my devotion this morning just kind of punched me in the face and was like, you haven't really done a good job of that past few days, but I have been better over the past couple of years of doing that. Just praying about going into a meeting and saying the right things or saying the words that God wants me to say to our team. And when it has nothing to do with faith, as far as, what we need to work on today, stuff like that. So I have done a lot better over the past couple of years. But like I said, all of us get caught up in the, hectic life stuff and work and get busy, and then you forget about it. And then I'm like, well, no. So today I've done a good job of it.
Your coaching staff is not new faces, which is good. I mean, you have those guys to lean on. And as you approach this fall and this spring, what are things you guys are working on and talking about?
Well, the biggest message to our staff and to our team, our mission every year is we want to continue to grow on and off the field, so that stays consistent. But our motto, at least for this summer, fall semester, was win today, what's important now, because with all the stuff you guys see on social media about the changing of college athletics, it almost changes on the hour, and there's no certainty. People think they know what's going to happen, but they don't. They come out with this, hey, baseball's going to get 34 full rides, and it's going to be a roster cap. Well, there's no decisions that have been made on it. And I would tell you that no school, doesn't matter if you're Texas A&M or LSU, is going to have 34 full rides in baseball because of Title IX. And schools are just not going to spend that kind of money, and they want to hold some back for NIL because it'll be revenue sharing at those places. So there's a lot of uncertainty. So really, even though what's important to you for you today to be successful is different than me, but what's important now, and we need to execute that, whether it be a staff member or a player.
I love the "Win the Day" motto. It's a great book by Mark Batterson. Check it out if you get a chance. But also, there's John Gordon is "Distractions are the enemy of greatness" is one of his great quotes. How do you keep everybody so focused with? Because it does seem like there is a lot of tampering, a lot of distractions of, hey, because you can win today, but as I said, win today may be an individual thing of like, hey, sometimes when you get money focused or other things, it can become a distraction, and the team cannot be a team if everybody's kind of wanting to do their own thing.
Well, when you're not paying players on top of what the cost of school is, then I think there's a little bit less jealousy, for baseball in our program. Now, it's not LSU or an A&M, their guys are getting paid as some other schools, but I think it's easier because it's no different than Joey Brini being a walk-on versus Trey Savage being on a partial scholarship. So they're not making money on top of it. They're not going out and buying a Porsche, and parking. I mean, I think that creates jealousy when I'm driving a Ford truck and my teammate over here is driving a Porsche. Well, that creates jealousy, of course, but with our guys, I mean, we just hammer a culture all the time. I mean, look, it's in their face all the time. You become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself by. So they're surrounded by, not that everybody's perfect, but they're surrounded by a group of guys that really believe in ECU baseball, not the individual.
We're sitting here this summer. You said 31 new faces. I mean, do you think that's going to be the norm for East Carolina baseball going forward, or do you feel
I think, yeah, last year was a perfect storm. We had a bunch of older guys, like we had a big class, but then we had to go get a few portal guys that we probably didn't bank on. But we did a really good job of that, of bringing in some talent, but also good people, with some guys leaving that we didn't think were going to leave. So I wouldn't say 31. 31 is a big number. It's the biggest number by far. I mean, I think the year before it was 21. So I would say, depending on how these roster limitations come down, it's definitely not going to be 31, but it might be 20, it might be 15, it might be 12.
How are you feeling about the team, pitching, offense, defense?
I feel great, man, but we haven't even had a full team practice yet, so everybody wants to know about new guys and stuff. I'll tell you that we've got more talent on the mound depth-wise than we probably ever have had here. Now, there's not a Trey Savage running the bullpen to start on Friday night, but that doesn't mean that we can't be good because not many teams have a Trey Savage to run out there on Friday night, as you guys could see last year. I think we're very talented on the infield and in the outfield. Catching, we have some guys that are talented, but they're young, so we've got to do a good job developing those guys as well. So, but when I see guys work and they have energy, I don't worry about what the spring's going to look like because I know we got great coaches, and our coaches are unbelievably coaching baseball, but they're better at coaching human beings.
You just ran down a bunch of positives for the team. Where are the areas of improvement that you want to see between now and February?
The consistency of just showing up and executing a standard. I mean, we got to continue to develop leadership. I mean, we had Chris Howell, who's a part of our program. He's a Navy SEAL. He's not active. Nobody comes and touches our team unless I trust him with my life. That's what I tell our team. So he actually stays with me when he comes in. But just developing really some good leaders within our program. We had a lot of good leaders that left our program, so we've got to cultivate that. And, Parker Bird's emerged as being one of the best leaders, and, we're still helping Dixon navigate. But we actually have some freshmen and some transfers that have the opportunity to be good leaders, which is awesome.
What is the one thing you look for in a good leader that you want to trust for your baseball team as a player?
Consistency. Just be the same guy all the time. I think when leaders are inconsistent, then they don't know, how you're going to react to a certain situation. And I think you got to pour into people. You've got to have intentional conversations. I mean, we talk about that within our program. You can't just say, hey, man, what's up? But that's one reason we don't have cell phones in our locker room, because I want our guys to actually communicate and connect with their teammates.
You mentioned it was a stressful summer or a fun summer, if you want to. I mean, Trey Savage got drafted in the first round. That's got to be a proud moment as a coach to see his success. And of course, a lot of other guys, JC and Ryan McChrystal, other guys were able to leave the program and go play pro baseball this summer.
Yeah, I think we had 4 guys drafted in top 10 rounds, the most top 10 round draft picks that we've ever had in ECU baseball. But being able to go up to Trey's draft party, and take AK up there and just see the family and see how awesome of a night it was. But it really couldn't happen to a better human being. I mean, Trey was really good. He's super talented, but when a guy could have went into the portal, 2 summers ago and made $400,000, and he never flinched. His parents did a really good job. And then, the guy's coming off an injury, and in the most crucial moment of the season, people ask me, is that the best performance here? I said, it's not the best. It's the most guttiest, competitive performance in the biggest situation that I've ever seen any pitcher make after coming off that injury. And, he's crying on the mound when I take him out of the game. And that's one of the coolest moments of my life.
Yeah, it was certainly a awesome moment. Other awesome moments. It's fun to watch Alec Burleson, Connor Norby, even got Sean Armstrong, Jeff Hoffman, some of the guys to have the Pirates in playing professional baseball. Because the Major League Baseball, NFL, they don't really care where you play college. They just want to know if you can play, and it's really cool to see those guys performing at a high level.
Absolutely. I mean, Burley's had a great year. I mean, I hadn't looked up his stats, today, but I mean, he was leading the Cardinals in home runs and RBIs. I mean, how cool is that? Norby, being traded, and it is a business, and everybody on the surface, when he gets traded, it's like, oh, well, he'll play in the big leagues every day because the Marlins aren't very good, and they send him straight to AAA, and I'm on the phone with him that night, and he's ready to go jump off a bridge because he's going back to AAA. He went from a contender in the big leagues to AAA in a bad team. And I said, hey, man, you can feel sorry for yourself tonight, but whenever you get in your car and you drive south to Jacksonville, you better flip the switch, because if not, you're going to prove them right that you're in AAA for a reason. And they wanted him to play some third base. And, 2 nights ago, he hits 2 home runs. Like, how cool is that? So really fired up for all of our guys that are having a lot of success.
Well, I know the impact you have because they always mention you whenever they're doing these interviews and stuff. Their time at East Carolina was very valuable, and what you poured into them has helped get them to the level where they're at.
Well, it takes a village, as you know. All of our coaches and our support staff just such a great job pouring into our guys. And obviously, Jeff Palumbo was a huge asset for Connor Norby for infield play and just mentality as well. So all of our coaches, that's the thing I tell people, we got the best coaching staff in the country. And then that, I'm sure people are like, well, they're your coaches. I go, well, they're super knowledgeable about baseball, but they care about the person more than they care about their individual success. And that's the cool thing for me.
People love fall baseball. Tell us real quick before we let you get out of here about open scrimmages or the Purple Gold World Series. How can people connect with you guys the next few months?
Yeah, so we'll start scrimmages the last weekend of September, and we'll scrimmage ourselves. And then the second weekend in October, I think it's the 12th of October, we'll play App State at App State, which kind of crazy. I grew up in North Carolina and I've never been to Boone, North Carolina, and App State.
Really?
So my first time. So we're going to do that, and then on October 26th, we'll have a ring ceremony. On the 27th, we'll play Pitt Community College here at our place, and then the first weekend in November will be the Purple Gold World Series, and the Purple Gold World Series that first weekend in November.
Well, Coach, keep up the great work. I know you're going to have a busy fall, and then people will be excited about spring football. I know people are football crazed right now, but people always love your program and what you do and how you represent ECU and this community. So we appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you and just all the support you give us. And our fans get it. Like, just keep breaking attendance records. And we've led the state of North Carolina attendance for 24 straight years. Pretty crazy, but that's because we got a great fan base.
Coach, thanks for being here today. Look forward to seeing everybody at Inky Johnson in March.
Thanks, Elby.